Hello everybody, this is BrawlFed1 for another commentary. I'm sorry I have not really been getting a lot of progress done with episode 6. I've just had too much to do right now with college related stuff and scholarships. But however I can do this because it didn't take that long. Figured I'd give you all something nice, you know, something quick since I haven't updated it in a while. Without further ado, let's just get right into the episode. So this is how pretty much the episode starts, leaving off from episode 3. With Diddy going back to his home planet Popstar to look for the Elemental Knights. Now, this episode concept is also very similar to a previous one that I had in the original Super Smash Chronicles series. Except instead of the villains hiring the knights went directly to the people that they fight. And it wasn't necessarily the 5 characters that they chose to fight in this episode. In fact, it wasn't even actual canon characters at all. It was 5 fan characters made by people I knew on the internet, like Razor the Wind. He fought Typhoon Knight. Sparks the Hedgehog, pretty much a yellow recolor of Sonic. He fought Zapper Knight. Matt the Echidna, a recolor of Knuckles, fought Earthbound. Finn the Shark, obvious reasons, fought Hydro. And Venice the Hedgehog fought Blazing. That's how I had it originally, but I ended up cutting that because, yeah. Anyway, we cut back to this where Diddy pretty much does his normal thing and pretty much tortures his minions while trying to do stuff. I honestly don't even think it's possible to get 3 hernias and not be dead. But then again, it's video game logic, so I'm not going to argue. And here we have the introduction of Typhoon Knight. The Elemental Knights are probably the most noticeable recolor fan characters I have. But then again, that's all I really have them for. I'm never going to use them again after this series. Unless I make them into a different species. But as of right now, they're only for this series. And as you can see, this is the introduction of Typhoon Knight, the wise one. He's the eldest of the knights. His power is wind, as you should already know. I will probably make a shorty video explaining the origin of the Elemental Knights, but that's only if you guys really care about them enough. Like, not a lot of people really seem to ask a lot of questions about who they were. So, if you guys want me to make a video explaining where they came from, I will gladly do it. But if you don't really care about them, then I won't bother. Yeah, we have Typhoon Knight, who he claims them to be. He claims the other 4 just to be his soldiers, but he looks at them more like they're his family. Like Typhoon's past what I made up for Typhoon's past is incredibly depressing. And again, I will only show that if you actually want to see like a back history to the Elemental Knights. Like, pretty much all the knights have a history, including on where their powers come from. Like I actually did come up with all that stuff. And Diddy. Oh, good old Diddy. Like, I find it funny that people take characters' personalities so wide-hibited by just how Flash animators who don't even own the characters use them. Like, I try to make the characters be as close to their personalities as possible, depending on how I know them. And this is, I imagine Diddy would do something like this if you know, he was desperate enough, like he is right now. Also, as you probably heard, Typhoon Knight spoke. I voiced all the knights. This is Typhoon Knight. This is Hydro. This is Hydro Knight. This is Blazing Knight. This is Zapper Knight. And this is Earthbound Knight. Obviously, there was a little bit of editing in the voices. Like I had to deepen Typhoon and Earthbound's voices. The other three didn't get edited. And then of course we have Kirby. Kirby is definitely more of a comic relief character in this series. Not really done. He didn't really do it on purpose. It's just his childlike nature. Like he's just a baby, and of course, like all babies, he's curious, and he doesn't understand what he's doing half the time. Like right here, he doesn't know he's being sent. He didn't know he's getting into a ship into Earth. He's just going after the butterfly. And to answer this one guy's question about how the Waddle Dees did not notice Kirby that entire time, think about this for a second. The Waddle Dees were all stored in a cargo area with the rest of DDD's supplies in a very dark cannon, and Kirby's body stature is very similar to Waddle Dees, so I don't think they'd notice. Getting into more depth with the villains. As you can see, even though they're working together, they still kind of hate each other. Like they're kind of just, at this point, more so tolerating each other than they really have to like each other. But that's to be expected from evil-like characters. And then, of course, we have DDD's ego trying to act like the big man, saying, "I got them. I totally got them. I persuaded them." That's just DDD's personality. It is kind of funny. DDD is just in general not a good person, but in most of the games that he's been in, he has like helped Kirby. Like Kirby 64, he helped him. Nightmare in Dreamland, he helped Kirby. What else? Brawl even. If it wasn't for DDD, Taboo would have won. So it's kind of funny. I have him as a main villain in this series, but most of the time he is saving the world. Oh, and then of course we have the Knights. I did also forget to mention, this first part I had to re-upload. This very scene we're watching right here, I didn't think at the time I'd be able to fit it in, but I ended up being able to fit it in anyway, so I took down the episode and re-uploaded it with this scene. So that's why it doesn't have as many views as the other parts, because a lot of people have already seen it.
Knights, reveal yourselves.
This thing with Zapper Knight with the electricity and the laughing, okay, I might as well get into more depth with the Knights now. First is obviously Zapper Knight. His power is electricity. Zapper Knight is a madman. He's just totally insane. He's just the very definition of bad. Blazing Knight, obvious power is fire. His attitude is very, he's a flirt. Like, originally I had him more so a rapist, but now I obviously had to tune that down for a more children's-suited show. So now he's just a flirt, even though he hasn't, well, yeah, I've seen him one time with Samus, obviously, but... Okay, then there's Earthbound. Earthbound is very lazy. He doesn't like to train, even though Typhoon makes him. And he's also very reckless and hard-headed. And I think I mentioned this before. He has this curse where he cannot leave the ground. He can't even jump. And then there's Hydro Knight, who is the naive child. Hydro is the youngest. I think... How old did I make him? I think he's either 8 or 12, one of those ages.
Together, we are.
There was a bit of a Ginyu Force reference there, and it wasn't even intentional. Like, I originally came up with the Elemental Knights, not even thinking that they kind of resembled the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z. It's kind of funny. I have so many things in this series that actually is rather similar to Dragon Ball Z, and I make that unintentional. Cause I don't want this series to be related to Dragon Ball Z, because that's that's a bad habit that a lot of spriters have here on YouTube or on Newgrounds. Whenever they make a sprite series, they tend to use a Dragon Ball Z style. Half of them it's because they're copying Alvin Earthworm, and the other half it's because they don't know what else to do. It's like now that they're here, might as well get right down to business. I think originally I had it so that the knights didn't know anything about the heroes that they were hired to kill. So it's like they went out and captured them with no knowledge of who they even were. But then I realized that Typhoon is much smarter than that, and it's like I think he'd probably catch on that. So instead, I decided to have it where they didn't want to do it. Well, Typhoon didn't want to do it, but he changed his mind when they made the deal that they wouldn't make any form of threat to Popstar, which was a kind of a little bit of foreshadowing for later on, because that's what ended up resolving the fight, because Kirby got involved. Even though the villains didn't intentionally want Kirby there, he just kind of got there by accident, and it was because of that accident which is what solved the fight. And that's kind of something else, a little joke. I never quite understood why K. Rool always kidnapped Donkey Kong's bananas. It's never really explained, so I just made a funny little joke towards that. And here we have, obviously, Typhoon and maybe couple of the other knights would have known who Kirby was, and Hydro Knight being the naive one, he didn't know who he was. So it's a little ironic that that one of the only knights who didn't know who Kirby was the only one who actually saw him. Kind of leading to a little bit, I guess you can call it a little bit more foreshadowing, I guess. I don't know, maybe not. Nah, it's not really foreshadowing. And then here, the influence for the knights to actually do the job, because Zapper Knight, like I said before, is pretty much everything bad. So obviously greed is one of those things, and then Blazing Knight is just in general greedy as well. So it's like this: Typhoon and Hydro Knight are the good knights, Zapper and Blazing Knights are the bad knights, and Earthbound Knight just doesn't care. But they're all in one team. And because of that, because of the balance of good and evil on this team, they pretty much don't care who they go after. It's like Typhoon Knight can be easily persuaded because of that evil as well. Even though he knows it's wrong. Like right here, he knows it's wrong, so he doesn't want to do it, but the other two knights are pretty much trying to persuade him into doing it. It's pretty much the evil of the Blazing and Zapper Knight that persuade over Typhoon. And Earthbound, like I said, doesn't care. He just does what he thinks, if he thinks about something. And Hydro Knight is, like I said, the young one, which can easily be shot down because if someone else yells at him. This kind of gives off a little taste of Typhoon's power, how strong his wind abilities are, being able to even push Bowser, who is the heaviest out of everyone. Yeah, I'm sure you guys are tired about me talking about the knights so much, but then again, there's a lot to them that I didn't really cover in this episode, and this episode is pretty much revolved around them too, so it has to be expected. This will re-show exactly everyone that wasn't shown in the cutscene clip. And a lot of people kept asking me why I didn't add certain characters like Ike and Meta Knight, or not really Meta Knight, yeah, pretty much other characters like Ike. It was because I only wanted certain characters that I did not have plans for a future episode. And I guess you can say that these are just the heroes that the villains the only heroes that the villains can think of at the time. Pretty much the only real threats. Even though technically a lot of the other little Luigi up there. Yeah, because Bowser can never remember Luigi's name. But anyway, pretty much even though a lot of the other heroes that I did not put into this list of hits were just as threatening as the ones that I did mention, it's pretty much just the characters that I could not think of a plan to do for later on. I just needed a way for them to get into the story. And then, obviously, as time passed, I would think of ways for them to be more important as opposed to just being there. Which, as you should know, if you've seen what they've done so far, you should know how they're more important than just being there.
Cool.
It's like I said, every character who shows up in this series will have a purpose. That character will contribute to something very important to the plot. Also, I will say this now: not all of the characters who show up will permanently reside there. Like, for example, Bobbery, obviously. Once episode 6 ends, Bobbery leaves. You know, he gets a new ship and then departs. There's no reason for him to be there anymore. So it's like, yes, once some characters, once their role is over, they leave. They're no longer important. Oh, this is just the little montage of the knights kidnapping the heroes. Because the villains are too cocky and want to see the heroes first before the knights kill them. Then here we get back to what Diddy and DK were doing earlier from episode 2 with Cranky's project. This is the project that Diddy was talking about that they needed to help Cranky with.
Wee. Wee.
Yeah.
Wee.
That's just funny. It's like Cranky's always using DK as his test subjects, even though it's like he's his. I'm not sure about this either. Is DK his son or his grandson? Because it was one game where he says that DK is his son, but in the recent game Donkey Kong Country Returns, he says he's his grandson. So it's very hard to tell. Like I think it was the first Donkey Kong Country game where Cranky said that DK was his son. And then yeah, just a little irony here. It's like, do you see any future events? Yeah, I'm gonna get burned to death. It's like a friend of mine actually brought this up right after I showed him the scene. It's like he brought up to me, okay, don't the vial is perfect, but he just burned to death. Wouldn't that be something bad? It's like, no, Cranky don't care. It's like you'd think that Diddy and Cranky would take into consideration, DK just disappeared into a giant fireball after drinking my potion. Maybe there's something wrong with it. No, all Cranky says is he knew he was gonna catch on fire. It's a complete success. Yeah, I see. It's like he doesn't care. DK's been in enough trouble for him not to be concerned. Like I agree. He just says it there. Then we have this laggy scene. I have no idea why this scene lagged so much. Like right there, see? It wasn't supposed to lag. It was supposed to look cool. And yes, people, I am a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. I like to play his games. This was actually Amy Rose. This is the only time Amy ever appears in this series. Just pointing that out right now. And then we have Snake. The solid snake. On this one, I just kind of wanted to do something random that no one would expect. Well, I fall down a random hole. And then finally we cut back to the main characters of the series, the Mario Brothers and Peach. It's funny. Billy, this is the only episode so far where Billy does not make one appearance as opposed to being in the intro. Uncle Luigi being entertaining. You'd think they'd take a note about the water on the ground. But then again, everyone knows that Mario characters are like really oblivious.
Luigi!
Even though you don't understand what they're saying, you can pretty much assume what they're talking about. Like, at this point, like, if you were actually paying attention to what just happened, you'd take a note to what they were probably saying. I did want to originally have it where Mario and Sonic still had that grudge against each other like they did in the Mario and Sonic commercials, but I decided to take that out. It would seem too obvious. Samus! Abruptly put into the series. Yeah, I don't show Samus with much personality in this episode, but you'll notice in episode 5 where her actual personality comes in. How Samus is like a total pessimist. I'm sorry, not pessimist. Whatever the negative word is, I forget. One thing I also should mention, I think I totally like overdo Sonic's fear of water in this thing. Like we've seen Mario, I'm sorry, not Derp, Sonic in like small, shallow pools before, and he hasn't complained then. They had like little puddles come up in this series, and he freaks out. And the Mario Brothers, of course, recognize that this is Bowser's castle because they've pretty much they can like play hide and go seek there and just constantly keep finding each other because they know this place better than I'm sure Bowser does. Oh, well, yeah, Mega mentioned that right there, too. Then again, the back of... one off-topic thing. You know this in, like, the back of your hand. I'm questioning why I even put that, because I've always thought to myself, that's probably the stupidest thing to ever say. Because I realize you should know the back of your hand, because you... But then again, do you just stare at the back of your hand every day just to know what it looks like? Seriously. Anyway, back to topic. This is why the villains wanted to capture the heroes before they were killed. They wanted to see them one last time and taunt them, and then let them be killed. But of course, like the cocky assholes they are, that ended up being their flaw. If they just let the knights kill them while the heroes were off guard, that probably would have helped them. That probably would have actually caused more success. And of course, Sonic is infamous for breaking the fourth wall a lot. Marth, the thing with Marth, I used to hate Marth. Like originally in the last series, Marth was racist to everyone who wasn't Japanese, and to this day I still question why I did that. Like I don't even remember why I hated Marth. Like I just did back then. I don't even know why. So obviously I brought him back to his actual personality from what I've seen in a couple of walkthroughs or from what Keith told me. And I'm sure I fail at this, but I try to give Marth an English accent because that is the accent he had in the what was it, the Fire Emblem? I can't remember the name of it. It was for the DS, the one that Marth was on, the remake. Laggy super effects. And a little sexist joke here. That little flex there. I'll fix that. Yeah, Sonic and his impatience. It's kind of that caged up thing. If people are caged up for too long, just waiting for something to happen that they know is going to happen, they get antsy and just start arguing amongst themselves. Up, and there's the butterfly, which I just totally ignored for a second. This is why Kirby was important. He was a key to their escape.
No.
Kirby! This fucking Kirby, he's the best character ever. Butterfly gets. Of course, Link gets mad. He ripped him off.
Yeah.
Kirby's like a giant storage place. Totally just carry stuff in his mouth and they live somehow. I also do take, like, as you've noticed, I do take advantage of Kirby's transformations a lot in this game, whether it be a made-up transformation to help fit the scene, or whether it be an actual transformation that he's used in the games, depending. Kirby somehow turns smarter when he's in a form. Of course, Sonic just runs out. And poor abused Luigi.
Luigi! Mamma mia.
For those of you Luigi lovers who don't like it how I abuse Luigi so much, you gotta remember that's just what happens to Luigi.
You're too slow.
Meme. Anyway, that's just what happens to Luigi. It's not like I created him to be like that. It's not like I'm physically abusing him more than he is in the game. If anything, in the games, I'm sure he's more abused in the games than he is in this actual series. Falco the asshole. We all love him though.
Hey guys.
Oh, I think this was also the first time I tried the side-scrolling background as opposed to a filled-in background. Obviously, you see it's a little laggy here, but it gets better as I've actually tried.
Leaving so soon? Oh.
Laggy.
Howard, why I oughta ease yourself.
Why must it be laggy? See, this is where the heroes actually confront the Elemental Knights. Oh, also, one thing I forgot to mention about Blazing Knight that he does have like a Brooklyn accent. Like each of the knights have an accent. Like Hydro Knight has the has like a normal accent, if anything most normal. And Typhoon also kind of has a more normal accent. He just sounds old. Earthbound just sounds really, really deep. Zapper sounds psychotic, and not Earthbound. Blazing sounds Brooklyn. And here I make a reference to the fact that they're just Meta Knight recolors. Like, hey, you look like Meta Knight. You wouldn't happen to know him, would you? Him? No. Like, obviously the only one who actually knows about him is Typhoon, but they don't know him personally, because they're not actually teamed. It's funny how a couple people, like, I think I mentioned this yeah, I already mentioned it once, never mind.
Outnumbered is but a word that can be cut to size by my lightning.
They're also a lot like the Mega Man, robots, I guess. I forget what they're actually called, but robot masters. That's right. They're like the robot masters, where they'll use their elements as for cheesy little punchlines. I try not to do it too much, but they do that. And then obviously they're just treating this right now. They're just treating this like a game, a tournament, and the heroes are just kind of going along with it. And then a funny little reference to the fact that everyone's first notice of Samus, they think that she's a guy. And it turns out like when I first found out that Samus was a woman, I was so shocked. Like, what? The elf in the green dress. That idea I got from the fact that since I never played Legend of Zelda, I would always make fun of it, and of course I would always call Link the elf in the green dress, and that kind of transition to Earthbound. And then of course the leader fights the most popular Nintendo character. Of course, you see a little bit more of Earthbound's powers. As opposed to being able to cause earthquakes, he can also control where rocks go.
No!
Fox is more important, so we're gonna yell at his name first and only. And this is where the actual fight starts.
Here we go!
You see Zapper is actually pretty fast, just like lightning. Zapper is just about the same speed as actual lightning. Not as fast, obviously, but pretty fast still. And then Earthbound is incredibly strong. But also very slow. Hydro, as you can already see, can melt himself. Then here we have the honorable Typhoon Knight that'll only fight an equal. I think besides the fact that they're recolors of Meta Knight, that's the only thing that Typhoon Knight has in common with Meta Knight, is the fact that he only wants to fight a fair fight. Because it's like Meta Knight won't fight you unless you have a sword. In this case, Typhoon Knight won't fight you unless you can fly. And Typhoon, obviously, as you can see, is the only one who doesn't have a weapon. He just fights with Kung Fu and other various martial arts. And this is also one of the Knights' weaknesses. Whenever they're all fighting close, they tend to get in each other's way. Call rape! Call rape! Yes, this is where we learn that Earthbound is attached to the Earth.
Huh. You think my name is Earthbound Knight for nothing?
PK throw! And then Sonic's so fucking fast.
Hey guys,
Grabs him,
better luck
taunts, and
next
then
time.
runs. And again, they just keep getting in each other's way. Yeah, that's one thing that Hydro can do. Hydro, more specifically, as opposed to being able to just control water, he can control precipitation and condensation, all that other station stuff, as well as temperature, which is how he's able to form water and ice. And by being able to form ice, that's how he forms his swords. And obviously, Snake doesn't want to fight fair. He just wants to win. That's how he's always been.
I'm over here.
Finger doesn't bend like that. Isabella from Phineas and Ferb. Anyway. Alright, when I first came up with this scene, I was laughing my ass off, and when I showed it to my friends on Skype before I uploaded it, they were dying on how funny this was. Like, just this very idea, I have no clue how I even came up with this. Like, here we have this Brooklyn pervert here, who sees this beautiful woman, and all of a sudden he goes French. Like, that's obviously one of Blazing's weaknesses, is women. Like, if he sees a beautiful woman, he instantly goes into flirt mode, and instantly goes off guard. And Sonic and Zapper are like, what? Why'd you hit him, bro? And here's where we start to see Hydro's power. Like I said, he's one of the more well-behaved knights. So if he sees one of his best, or in this case, his father-like Typhoon Knight is not Hydro Knight's father, but he's a father figure. So the moment he saw Typhoon Knight in danger like that, obviously he's gonna want to get aggressive. C4.
Now.
He has played the games. I've seen it. Obviously, he can also, since he can control like melting and all that stuff, he can have his sword extend and then have it come back in, as well as create puddles to distract people. Here he's trying to drown Snake, as you can clearly see, and then that's easily interrupted. Like, look, he got so aggressive when he found when his father figure was threatened, and then he got pwned. You can see the softer side of the knights. Character development, kind of, if you want to call it that. Like, yeah, once again, I very much know that the knights are recolors, even though my friends keep telling me that because of how Kirby or Meta Knight, whatever the hell what species they are, their species are very similar, so it's very, very hard to actually be able to include anything to it. Which I do agree with, obviously. Like, unlike a Sonic recolor or a Mario recolor, with Kirby recolors, you can't really do much to them, as opposed to give them wings or hair or faces, because they're just giant heads with arms and legs. What can you do with them? It's like, yep, once again, Kirby's childlike nature is what ended up saving the heroes, because if he didn't playfully get on that ship after the butterfly, the Knights wouldn't have found him, and the Knights wouldn't have ended their match. That tornado is how Earthbound is able to transport to different planets. Because pretty much that tornado created a warp where Earthbound can just walk directly from Earth onto Popstar. All that resolves, and they get sent back. But the Knights still know that the villains are up to no good, so they keep them together as well. Oh, I think I figured out something. What's up, people?
Luigi! Luigi! Mario! Oh!
Poor Luigi. So abused. Toadsworth yells loudly. Now, obviously, as you can see here, Mario gets incredibly mad, as opposed to the princess just being kidnapped. It's not just the princess anymore, it's now his family. So, what would any father do once, you know, their family's been taken away from them? They'd go into a rage fit. Of course, Fox is the only one with actual emotions to actually notice that. Shit going down! And then once again, the credits. So yeah, this was the commentary of episode 4. Once again, I apologize if I didn't really have a lot to say. There wasn't much to say on this one either. This was definitely one of the other shortest episodes. Obviously, a lot of the episodes upcoming are going to be incredibly long. Pretty sure, yeah, this was also the last episode where I used this kind of credit screen, because it was too tedious to work on. And obviously, I'm not going to use the exact same credit screen that I used in episode 5. I am going to come up with something else, but I was in a rush, which is why I made that one, so I apologize for that. This song is really cool, so that's why I put it here. I'm just gonna let it play through is all. Like, obviously these individual credit screens for each character becomes much harder because of the whole so many characters things in this entire series. Especially the last episode. I won't spoil anything that happens in the last episode. I will say that there's going to be a lot of characters, however. So, yeah, I can't do this for that entire episode. Otherwise it'll be 10 minutes of credits instead. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it here. Just let it play for the rest. This is Brawl Fan 1. See y'all in the next video.